Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're looking at another dockyard, this time with the Lushun B. Back-to-back dockyards here, with the Laffey being the last two updates, and now jumping right into Lushun B. This is a dockyard that happened previously, and I gotta say, I'm pretty excited to see how Wargaming brings back more of these dockyard ships. I've been a little bit disappointed and critical of Wargaming in their handling of past dockyards. They're excellent events overall. The problem is the FOMO. It is ridiculous how long it takes for these ships to come back. Some of them are incredibly fun. Most of them are extremely unique playstyles. And overall, it's really good content for the game. It's just really disappointing to not see them come back. So I'm very glad to see Lushun come back in this B version of a dockyard. This dockyard will have 35 phases, of which you can earn 30 of them through combat missions. So that leaves us 5 phases you'll have to buy. If you do that early on, it'll be 5,000 doubloons for a pack of 5, or 1,350 doubloons per level if you do it later on. So that's 6,750 doubloons if you don't buy into this one early on. It is not as good a deal, of course, but I always recommend that you guys wait overall. If I was buying into these things, that's what I would be doing personally. I just don't want to be stuck with this dockyard that I already bought into if life gets busy in the next couple of months. I'm not sure exactly how long these missions will be available, haven't been given that information, but typically we see it available for 2 months, with new unlocks happening weekly or so. Also not sure about the difficulty of some of these missions, as we found out with the Laffey. In the 6th week, we ran into some base XP requirements. Those are rather difficult to get through, so I'll have to take a look at these missions once this dockyard comes out, and I'll give you guys my take on each of the weeks and how difficult it will actually be. Overall, very happy that this is how Lushun is coming back, simply because we had Provincian come back and ZF6 come back earlier this year, only in loot boxes, and to guarantee you got those ships out of those loot boxes, you had to spend over $500 on Provincian and over $1,000 on ZF6. Crashed out a little bit on those, certainly, and this is a way better way to bring these ships back, Wargaming. Good job. I just wish these old dockyards were more consistently available. Like in the campaigns tab, why can't we just have these old dockyard ships be accessible, all of their missions, buying into them in something like the campaigns tab after the dockyard is a year or two old? I think that would be a great way for people to have access to these dockyards still if they missed out on them. Lushun B coming back like this does not fix that overall problem with these dockyards. Now that's about it for the event as far as information I have now. Other than that, I think this update should be dropping around October 1st, maybe a week later. But given that most of the 10th anniversary events are ending on October 1st, and a few other events like the Laffey Dockyard ending September 29th, I would assume the next update would be on that Wednesday on NA or Thursday for EU and C. But I'm not sure about that. This is all just speculation. I haven't been told when it will drop. But the dockyard should be available when the next update happens. As for the playstyle of Lushun, I talked a lot about Laffey in comparison to Lushun recently, where I thought that more people would like Lushun than Laffey. Personally, I way prefer Laffey. I find it way more fun. But Lushun is going to be much easier for the vast majority of people to play, thanks to it having actually usable gun arcs. It also has better detection on this ship, and a little bit more base HP. You retain the ability to heal a ridiculous amount. This is the key comparison between Laffey and Lushun. Both of them have heals that heal back 30% of their HP. Absolutely monstrous. Laffey's, though, has a 20-second action time and an 80-second cooldown, for a total of 100 seconds between activations of that 30% HP back. Where with Lushun, we have a 60-second action time and then a cooldown of 120 seconds, nearly doubling the time between activations of Laffey at 180 seconds. And that's going to get me killed a couple of times while playing this ship. I just did not wait long enough in between the engagements that I took. Nearly dying in this one, actually, right here. I like to get in aggressive and brawl, but Lushun doesn't need to do that. It is a very good cap contester, though, perhaps even better than Laffey. thanks to its hydro. Yes, we actually get a hydro with Lushun here, 5.5 kilometers, 110-second base action time. So you can surprise a lot of DDs with that. Our DPM overall is actually just a little bit worse than Laffey, 197k HE DPM, 216 on Laffey for the HE DPM. But the AP, look at us getting Citadels on that Utrecht. The AP is amazing on Lushun. 310k AP DPM, which puts us third best at tier 10 for AP DPM, where Laffey's only at 252. So if you're willing to swap over to that AP, find broadsides, find situations where you can use your AP, it is going to absolutely demolish enemy ships, assuming you get full pens. The problem here is that the fuse thresholds on Lushun are 22 millimeters. Short fuse times, 0.01 seconds, which is normal for a lot of these DDs, not all of them, but a lot of them, and no improved pen angles. We are going to struggle to get full pens on the thinner destroyers. On larger DDs, it is well worth using this AP. And we'll look at that towards the end, where I tried to force some AP into DDs. But for the most part, you're going to notice that I'm usually using high explosive, just because a lot of overpens tend to happen. In the right situation, though, the AP is absolutely incredible. But this shell velocity, I'm not running range mod here, but Lushun functions extremely well as an open water farmer. While it does not have the best maneuverability, it's rather average in that regard. With this shell velocity, you can play open water farming pretty easily, especially thanks to the monstrous amount of healing you get. Not only is it the same percentage back on these heals that we get with Laffey, which is the best at tier 10, we get a whole nother consumable charge. We get 3 of these heals base, where Laffey only gets 2 of them base. Although the game does have to last quite a while for you to get through all of those, it is a significant advantage in those longer games. Notice again just how valuable hydros can be. That poor Yamagiri getting Guden bombed and then Mecklenburg HE'd. Pushing up to islands like this is very, very powerful, especially cap islands like this one, that we can play safe from behind while also spotting anyone within that 5.5 kilometer radius. Now, we don't get a smoke here, so if you're not great with the not smoking up, farming DDs, that kind of thing, it's going to be a little bit tricky to figure out Lushun's playstyle. It is a very large hull after all. It's a Nustra Shimmy hull, so you're going to take a lot of damage, all right? But you heal back a ton of it, so it's not too bad here, even ignoring GK secondaries. The shell velocity is really nice, except for trying to farm over islands. It's a little bit hard to find the right angle where we can actually arc over these islands with the good shell velocity. But it's much, much, much easier to lead these guns than the Laffey is. And for that, it's really, really comfortable to play. No engine boost here either, and that's fine, but I also noticed the engine got knocked out quite a lot while I was playing. So you'll really want to be aware of that open water playstyle, always trying to make sure you have a way to disengage. If you overcommit, like I'm going to do in a few of these clips later on, you still definitely can die. Shimakaze here getting caught in his smoke. It's really, really nice to have a hydro to spot all these destroyers. Making aggressive plays with this hydro is extremely fun. Now, hopefully it makes sense why I'm comparing so much to Laffey, but if it doesn't to you, the reason being is the Laffey Dockyard is still purchasable, I believe, even if you didn't finish all of the missions outright. Maybe you would want to buy Laffey over Lushun. For the vast majority of you, though, especially from what I've seen on social media, I think most people aren't big fans of Laffey. I might be the minority there, but personally, I just have a lot of fun playing Laffey over Lushun even. Personally, I would prefer to buy Laffey. But I think the vast majority of you will likely enjoy Lushun much more. I'm not sure exactly how hard these missions are going to be again, but if they're similar difficulty levels, maybe it is just worth it to skip on Laffey if you haven't managed to complete some of those base XP requirements and go for Lushun instead. It's going to be one that I think more people will enjoy. The other thing that Lushun has over Laffey, and actually a lot of other destroyers, we actually get deep water torps here that are pretty decent. The torp DPM isn't amazing, but it's pretty close to base Yu Yang. Even though I'm not building into that, it's still very, very solid damage output here. Nearly 18k alpha damage, and with deep waters, you can't hit DDs. But what you do get is incredible detection on them. 0.8 kilometer detect means that for cruisers, for battleships, there is no lead warning. They just have to instinctually dodge or have a hydro, anything like that. Otherwise, it's very difficult to deal with these deep water torpedoes. They're very solid, although I would not recommend building into them. It's just nice supplemental damage. Now here's a situation where we're not going to make it to our next heal. I should not have turned in here. Massive blunder, okay? This was a big mistake, okay? It's not the ship's fault. This is user error. But I do want to mention that Laffey probably lives here because I would have got to my next super heal, where here we're going to die with 30 seconds remaining till that heal. It is unfortunate coming from Laffey and over to Lushun. It is a different playstyle, and it was user error as to why I died there. But it is worth mentioning that you can't take as many quick bursty engagements. Lushun wants more prolonged engagements with this healing. I will say, though, it is much easier to use this heal for those prolonged engagements. So if you are open water farming, or maybe you do get into some DD engagements, it's not so bad to pop your heal too early, quote unquote, I'm gonna say. Sometimes that happens with super heals where they burst up so much HP so quickly that you actually don't get the full value out of them if you use them too soon. But since this heal takes so long to get you that 30% HP back, using it early isn't really necessarily too much of a bad thing because it's not going to tick up very quickly at all. Now, don't ask me why this Shimakaze decided to just sit on the border and die like this. Paid actor moment, I don't know, but Lushun's pretty good at these situations, I gotta say. Having that hydro to spot those torpedoes, one of the big problems with playing aggressive cap contesting DDs, of course, is you're gonna eat some of those torpedoes that the other DDs will be launching at you. Hydros are very useful in that situation. Now onwards to dealing with this enemy Tromp, and I'm gonna use HE this time. And, well, the individual salvo damage, the individual hit damage isn't amazing with the HE. It is still quite consistent. Let's move over to an example where we're just going to use the armor piercing. When we get the full pens, the damage is absolutely incredible. Look at that. I mean, that's nearly 2.5k damage per salvo, and that's coming at you every 1.2, 1.3 seconds. But as we move, okay, my aim is not perfect, okay, but when my aim is good, we're still getting quite a few overpens. And then as soon as they angle, we start to get those bounces because we don't have improved pen angles. It's well worth using the AP. You just have to be very careful that you don't overuse it because you will get a lot of overpens on the thinner DDs. Tromp's a pretty large DD. If I was shooting at a Shima there, many more overpens yet. And of course, as soon as they start angling, make sure you're swapping back to that HE as fast as possible. The HE has pretty decent fires per minute, a little bit better even than something like the Lushun, but still not the best. It's at 7.1 fires per minute at a 5% base fire chance. We just get a lot of hits on target, which allows us to do a little better than something like the Laffey. The best at this tier, though, of course, are in that 10 or 11 fires per minute range. Things like Small End, Vampire, Daring. Much more fires out of those ships. But Lushun, still a very solid farmer. Very scary to try and dodge torps with its average maneuverability, but still, it's... when that hydro's down, it is pretty terrifying. Again, over pushing here, getting too aggressive, caught in a massive crossfire. Hayate, Minotaur, Salem, and there's a Ragnar that pops up on my flank as well. And this is the other problem with a heal that takes forever to tick up and actually give you that full 30%. You can actually be burst down from nearly full HP or pretty high HP down to nothing before you even get all of your healing back from this heal. So there are massive advantages to having your heal tick for much more like we see on Laffey. Not only is it the cooldown time getting you back to that next heal quicker, but also I nearly died here while I still had some healing left from this consumable. You gotta be careful with your positioning. Again, user error, I'm playing too aggressive. But it is worth mentioning that these are some downsides with this ship when compared to other DDs that rely on more open water as well and also have this healing trait. And as is usual with these dockyards, they typically are very good value if you have the time to put in to grind out these ships and these missions. They are really unique overall. Lushun certainly fits that mold, a very unique playstyle with that extremely long heal, but for a lot of HP. And I think it's an overall pretty fun ship, even though for me personally, I would prefer Laffey. I know for a lot of people, they will find this ship much easier to play and much more fun because of that. The torps are better here. The guns are easier to use. You still get an amazing amount of healing. I just find I can be much more aggressive and burstier with Laffey, and for me personally, I like that just a little bit more. It's more maneuverable for me, a little bit more fun. But that does not mean Lushun is a bad ship at all. It is incredibly powerful. The build that I was running looked like this one. Notice I actually didn't run Superintendent. You can get even more healing than I was running here. But considering it takes forever to get to that 4th heal, may not be worth using. I wanted a little bit more DPM, running something like Fearless Brawler, and then I gave up Demo Expert down to a 1-pointer, allowing me to take something like Incoming Fire Alert. Not super necessary. The key here is to get preventive maintenance. Even with that, engine gets knocked out a lot. Last stand, survivability expert, concealment. From there, you can kind of go whatever direction you want to. Decent HP, did not run the extra range, but you certainly can do that. It's very usable arcs, and it's a decent farmer at those longer ranges as well. Torpedoes, solid. It's a decent all-rounder. It's just an open water all-rounder, or at least one without smoke. You still want to use island cover, but not having a smoke on a DD can be difficult if you're not used to that playstyle. So maybe worth playing a little further back, even though the concealment here is very good, allowing you to push up very aggressively to caps. You still can die and get burst down quickly. Hydro, very, very useful. It's still a lot of healing. Even if it's not my favorite heal, it's still just a ridiculous amount of healing on a destroyer. So it's very, very good. And I'm also running the Hydro mod here. Just extending that time a little bit more is very useful when I'm not taking Superintendent. Other than that, I think that's about it for this Lushun. Lushun B, the camo will look a little bit different than this one. Wargaming, if this is your idea to bring back these Dockyard ships, these older Dockyard ships, I'm all for it, okay? This is way better. It's not even close to the same ballpark as the previous iteration of the loot box only Provincian and ZF6. This is way, way better. All I would ask is that you find a way to make these older Dockyards not FOMO based. Bring them back in such a way that more people can get access to them more often. Maybe it's 2 years old, maybe, but bring them back in the campaigns tab. Give us the option to have a Dockyard section down here where you just have to buy into it. Maybe it's the 5,000, or even maybe make it a little bit more. Maybe it's 10,000 doubloons instead of 5,000 doubloons. I don't know. But then make it permanently available. The missions aren't time gated, and that way you can just work through them like you would with any of these campaigns at your leisure. And I think that would be really, really incredible to see. I don't know if that's the best idea. Maybe there's something wrong with that. I don't know. But as a player of this game, someone who wants to see these ships in the hands of more players, just because they're so fun, interesting, unique, I think that would go a long way to helping more players have access to this content and spend more time playing the game, grinding out mission chains like that. And honestly, for a lot of these older Dockyards, you have some pretty incredible assets sitting there, not just in the ships and their playstyle, but you put a lot of effort into the artwork on the Dockyards, as shown in the beginning of this video. It's really cool to see the ships being built. It'd be a shame to just let that sit there collecting dust for years. So please, Wargaming, bring these things back. Love to see Lushun coming back, but please bring them back in a more permanent way that people can buy into. That's something that I personally would really, really like to see. And I think a lot of people will agree with me in the comments down below. But let me know what you think about the Lushun in the comments as well, if you have it. That way, more people can get a little better idea of what the wider community thinks about this ship before they decide to purchase or grind towards the Lushun B. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.